Here's a question for the people in the comments section. Do you prefer to play solo or in a group? Because this question is relevant to the topic at hand, about a frame who right now needs a slight touch-up because his one and only counterpart overtook him with quality of life and build diversity. I'm talking about Baruuk. I made a video a while back called Baruuk vs Valkyr, and this was prior to the Valkyr rework. And that video brought up a lot of points regarding their damage, survivability, and ease of use. Baruuk won in 4 cases: not draining energy over time with his 4th ability active, a large area covered with his 4th ability, better status chance thanks to his augment, this way you can mod his 4 with a bit more variety, and higher damage scaling potential with his 4th ability because his melee gains an additional final damage multiplier with combo counter. Baruuk and Sevagoth possess the only exalted weapons that have this feature. When it came to survivability, ease of use, and faster gameplay, Valkyr won. But now, Valkyr is pushing further ahead after her rework, as she gained even more damage, build variety, and better quality of life. And for those who don't get it or just simply blind to the fact, let me demonstrate and tell me if you can spot it. What do Valkyr, Baruuk, Excalibur, Sevagoth, and even Wukong have in common? They all have exalted melee weapons. This is excluding the former pseudo-exalted frames like Core and Atlas. So vanilla exalteds. You activate an ability and now you're in a new mode where you lose access to your regular melee, or in Sevagoth's case, your entire arsenal, to gain the use of a unique melee weapon. Now watch this and tell me if you spot something. Notice how Valkyr, Excalibur, and Wukong all could just press a button and use their skills, while Baruuk needed to do a whole setup before it could start blasting. So this goes back to the question I asked in the beginning of the video. For those who play solo, don't have to worry about this because any setup you find fun will overshadow the countless negatives. But now, trying to play these frames in a group or public setting is an entirely different story. Let's say you enter a lobby with a Korra whipping away, Sevagoth with his Reap and Sow, Clyde blasting away with infinite ammo, or Mesa with a no-scoping the entire map. Good luck eroding your restraint meter to even start fisting. Granted, even Valkyr would see less kills or presence with those frames in the team, but she doesn't have to worry about building up any stacks. Again, not all frames have to work well with each other, or not all frames have to function well in groups, but not being able to do anything because you can't upkeep your erosion, because everything gets nuked, it feels bad for Baruuk players. And this is why he is amazing when you play solo, and in a few mission types. Pretty much the similar situation with frames like Nidus and Harrow. It's about playing at your own pace to feel valuable. For those who don't understand Baruuk's kit, he has a passive called Restraint. It's a meter that decays the more he performs certain actions or crowd controls enemies with his first 3 abilities. If this meter isn't eroded, he won't be able to attack with his 4th ability. The other main issue with Baruuk is his whole eroding restraint meter mechanic and how it's a core feature that holds his kit back and diminishes build variety. First of all, Baruuk is in a weird spot in terms of his identity. He isn't a melee Warframe by any means, because once you remove his 4th ability from the equation, he is a crowd control frame that has an exalted weapon. Even his passive doesn't contribute to buffing or melee quality of life. So hopefully for the people at DE, please listen to at least some of this. I will break down the core issues of his first 3 abilities and hopefully provide some ideas or new ways to either redesign or improve and possibly give him an actual identity. His first ability is of course his worst one, the ability that is always removed, because it literally serves no purpose and is contradictory to the core gameplay loop of Warframe. Think about it. When this ability is active, you go into this Ultra Instinct state where Baruuk has the ability to dodge any incoming attack, and this ability erodes his restraint meter if he successfully dodges attacks. However, if Baruuk becomes in any way hostile towards his aggressors, he loses the 100% dodge state, meaning he will take damage. So to erode the restraint, you literally have to sit there and do nothing. In a game where mass genocide is the norm, this ability is completely out of place, don't you think? Sure, you can just stand there and continuously erode your restraint, but what's the point? Another downside is that it drains energy over time and cannot dodge splash damage. Example, explosions or Xmas attacks. You also have to mod a lot of rage to have a 360-degree coverage of incoming attacks. So my suggestion for the rework, while keeping his pacifist monk theme, is to have it be a deflect rather than a dodge. This way it makes him more of a presence on the field, while actually having people feel like they're playing the game. Anyway, going back to the deflect mechanic, the deflection could be like an active parry, where any form of attack would be countered and sent back to the attacker with a 2x damage multiplier, or even apply a stats effect or a damage vulnerability. And if swarmed and attacked by at least 3 or more enemies, Baruuk will release a pulse that pushes enemies back, and applying any stats effects modded on your weapon or apply damage vulnerability, and upon activating the pulse, any enemy pushed back will have a chance to be disarmed, and disarmed enemies are dazed and open for a finisher. The deflection radius can be modified with range, which will result in a wider cover and provide a bigger radius for the pulse to trigger. Of course, any successful deflection will erode the restraint meter. Now, for those who play Path of Exile, this idea was inspired by a persistent skill gem called Wind Dancer, where it does something similar with a knockback in damage. Now, I feel that this fits Baruuk and Warframe, and the ability can have a use in some builds and further boost his survivability and make him more of an active Warframe. Now onto his second ability, Lull. It's technically okay, but it has 3 major issues that hurt it the most: not being recastable, line of sight restrictions, and a slow activation. Funny enough, his second ability is his best ability to erode restraint, but holds him back because of the negatives. So now, how do we as players currently circumvent the 3 issues and play him efficiently to maximize faster erosion? Very simple. You run negative duration and group enemies. With negative duration, you can recast it and the enemies wake up faster, so you can reapply the ability again. Grouping, so you can affect more enemies and avoid the line of sight restrictions. But here's the catch. Running negative duration limits your options of helmet, because there are quite a few that require duration, and of course will offer way more damage and utility. Simple solution here. Do the same thing you did with Trinity and her energy vampire. For those who don't know, back in the days, people used to run a negative duration build on Trinity to spam energy vampire to get faster energy pulses. So if you do allow us to recast it and affect enemies again, you can also give it a negative. So any subsequent cast of Lull on the same enemy will have diminished effects and will erode less of your restraint meter. And to fix the stupid line of sight restrictions, have it be like an aura that expands and persists a bit more, affecting anything that comes into contact with the Lull radius, similar to Molecular Prime. The expansion distance traveled can scale with duration, so now modding for duration is actually good on Baruuk. Hopefully, we can get something like that. And finally, for the third ability, it's technically fine. The ability gives you damage reduction per dagger and disarms enemies. The one flaw is that you constantly lose daggers over time, so it's a small micromanagement type of ability. So a quality of life fix for it would be you get back the daggers of the enemies you disarmed after you execute them. Meaning the ability disarms, you kill the target, you get back the dagger, less time recasting your ability for damage reduction, you can always upkeep your damage reduction by killing enemies. And let's be honest, his fourth ability is okay. I mean, it did get a slight nerf with the crit chance, but it's still fine. You do a lot of damage. I would say the only downside is that impact really sucks. Hopefully they do something about impact in the future. But yeah, boys, I like to make these kinds of videos because I like to talk about frames that I care about, and frames I would like to see do better and be more dominant in certain game modes. I mean, taking a look at Valkyr, she used to be horrible. Her first ability was a complete joke to what it is now, and what it offers in terms of quality of life and stacking your damage buff. It's a grouping and mobility tool all in one. Her second ability makes her tanky and gives her attack speed. And of course, if you use the augment, you can always upkeep that attack speed. Her third ability is unfortunately her worst one because it only applies the damage vulnerability every cast. If we got some sort of, let's say, an augment, where when you activate this ability, it will give Valkyr's Claw the ability to apply a damage vulnerability on every melee strike. I mean, that would just make her even stronger at that point. And we all know how strong her fourth ability is. Does a lot of damage. And for those wondering about both frames and how I built them, all the build guides will be in the cards on the top and in the description if you want to see ultimate destruction. Anyway, folks, tell me if you agree or disagree and why. Would like to see your point of view and what kind of rework or quality of life fix you would want to see on someone like Baruuk or any other frame. As for me, I value quality of life in a majority of my builds and the way I play. Also why I really fell in love with the Pathfinder ascendancy in Path of Exile. The amount of quality of life and build diversity that class has is just insane, and I personally have been enjoying it way too much. And reminds me of frames like Gauss, Wisp, Protea, all in one. As you can see, I've been playing a lot of Path of Exile, and pretty much it's what inspired this video. Anyway, folks, that has been it for me. I do hope you enjoyed and learned something from this video. If you did, please feel free to leave a like, share, and subscribe for more Warframe content, streams, and so much more. Do refer to the description. Thanks for watching, and as always, a peace. Bye-bye now.